name is Nick Cook and I'm with Sleep Sound Property Management. And one of the questions on a lot of people's mind is, why are rents so high in Portland, or why have they grown so rapidly recently, and especially over the last few years? And so I wanted to address some of those questions that people have and kind of talk about the larger issue. So there's a couple of reasons, or a handful of reasons I should say, and the first one is that over the last 10 to 15 years, there really was very little multifamily housing that was built. And so what that means is there's a really low inventory. So you're creating a little bit of a supply and demand issue there. The other reason is that in Portland, we have an urban growth boundary. And so what that does, that limits the amount of places that can be developed. And it also pushes for more density. And building density can be oftentimes more expensive because it's cheaper to build a one-story building than it is to build a five-story building. And so the urban growth boundary has contributed largely to the problem. Now, I'm not saying that it's necessarily an issue to have an urban growth boundary, but it definitely is part of the issue. Now, the other reason is that in the city of Portland, it's actually very difficult to build property. There's a lot of red tape and things are very expensive. There's also a lot of regulation in the city of Portland, and we've noticed some of this new regulation, which is coming up soon here on November 13th. But those type of things, while look like they don't add a lot of cost on the surface, they do administratively, and they do in terms of risk and reward for landlords, and that cost is often passed through in rent prices. The other thing that contributes to rent prices is that because of the urban growth boundary, land is very expensive. And so for a developer to build a property and actually be able to cover the cost and earn a profit based on the risk, and while some people might think that the profits are astronomical, they're realistically not. If you were to look at a true pro forma, you would see that they're actually quite reasonable for the amount of risk and money that goes into those projects. And so because those projects are expensive, higher rents are there, or need to be higher, to support those buildings. However, if rents weren't there, then those buildings wouldn't be built. So it's not necessarily the landlords that are out there looking to be greedy, although I'm sure some people are gouging residents. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is really driven by supply and demand. Now, another factor as well is that Oregon, and especially Portland, has seen massive in-migration over the last few years. More people moved to Oregon in 2014 than in any other state in the entire union. So that gives you an idea that we have a lot of people moving here, we don't have a lot of housing stock, and as a result, a lot of this is driven by supply and demand, which is pushing prices up and creating pressure on the rents. So how we address that, there's a lot of different ways that people have suggested. Some is building affordable housing, some is with low-income tax credits. We'll find out, obviously, over the next few years how this develops, but I think it's important that you have an understanding of how we got to where we are and why the rents are where they're at. It's not just something that's magically started where landlords decided they could charge more. It really is a big shift in the demand for housing and the number of people that live in the area. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions about property management, feel free to reach out to us. We're a professional management company and we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.